Caleb, Farming Simulator 22 is free now!
Oh, get out. I'll play that game when pigs fly.
Oh,
Okay, let's play
Farming Simulator 2022. This is a realistic simulation of a farmer who manages his own farm, walk around it, and can control any of the vehicles you own.
You start out with 3 maps, one of them in the US Midwest, one of them in France, and one of them in the Alps that is basically the same map from Farming Simulator 19, but it has been a little bit revamped.
And we want to go through changes right away because there was a Farming Simulator 2019, which you might actually get from Epic Free as well. And the game expanded in the equipment options. Now you can have over 400 different models and over 100 different manufacturers. You can find nearly any major tractor you could possibly need for your simulated farm, all licensed like John Deere or Zetor. There is better visuals slightly, some improved sound details, more in-depth customization of character, or total field management. Newly, you can also build vineyards and olive trees, but mainly
That's a lot of stuff, but the biggest change,
Yes.
the thing that was probably the most demanded and makes the most sense if you think about it, is that Farming Simulator 22 finally has seasons. And these are immediately a very deep part of the game because everything you will do in the game now, if you're trying to be a successful farmer, is adapting to the seasons to figure out what can grow in which seasons, when to harvest. And so that ticking clock that I think is ever present in the life of a real farmer, thinking about when in the day to do things, at what time of the season to do things, how to make sure that there are crops like going through to the next season. All of that is now implemented finally into Farming Simulator in this edition when it did not exist previously.
but if it's annoying to you, it can actually be totally turned off as
Also
well.
an option. Another thing in this game is the building editor, which means that you can place new buildings around your farm and even design them yourself. And another, I would say almost as big as the seasons, is that you don't just produce crops and items, you can actually completely control the supply chain to create the products like strawberry cakes or making bread. That does mean that you have to produce all the ingredients, eggs, milk, wheat, like all of these things, and be able to produce them into their ingredient form. But then you don't have to just sell the wheat and the milk and the eggs. You can sell strawberry cakes for a higher premium. And that changes the business model of the entire
Right.
game.
And this is not actually all about farming, even though mainly you can, for example, even take a chainsaw by yourself, cut down a tree, and using vehicles turn the trees into lumber. There is over 20 DLCs that you can get for this map, that you might get new maps, crops, or vehicles. And the most important thing, that at least on Steam, is the modding community. There's a lot of mods that is, there's new maps, totally new things in there. Unfortunately, not for Epic Games Store. This goes only for Steam. And if that's not enough, there is a multiplayer for up to 8 people, cross-platform. So PC players can play even with PlayStation, Xbox players.
So get your farming friends together and start a farm. Put all this together, and the playtime is actually kind of unlimited.
Up to you.
Yeah, on Steam we saw some reviews of people who have played it up to 3,000 hours.
And they said, I like it,
and
usually.
hopefully after 3,000 hours. We have not played it for 3,000 hours, but we are still going to tell you if we think, should you play it?
That's the question.
Yeah. But first, you should know that this game, this huge farming simulator, is completely free from the Epic Games Store, starting right now for 1 week until May 30th, 2024. It's part of this big Vault event that we are covering. And that's what we do on this channel, actually. We play and review every free weekly game on the Epic Games Store. We've been doing it for 5 years. So even if you're new, don't miss what's coming next. Make sure you subscribe and you'll never have to be bored or wonder how to make your carrots grow as juicy as possible.
So, I think this game is more of a manager game. You build buildings, you can let even AI to drive your vehicles for you to a certain destination and even hire it to operate on the fields. But it is still buggy, so it might not work as well. The most fun you will definitely have is with friends and in very realistic cockpits. I think that's the main highlight, is the cockpit view. It's somehow even more relaxing. So even as single player, you're doing your crops, you're in the tractor, in the cockpit. It's so relaxing. But compared to previous game, I don't think there's as many new things. If you own it on Steam, there's mods for seasons as well. So there might not be as so many new things for you to purchase game, especially not on Epic. Yes, you should play it now when it's free on Epic Game Store. Mods are the biggest highlight of the game.
I think this is probably the best farming simulator that you could ask for, especially now with the official integration of seasons. This really feels like the experience of being a farmer. Now, one of the things that was difficult for me in the beginning is that there's not much of a tutorial to learn how to be a farmer. It's quite difficult, so there's a big encyclopedia, but you're kind of learning by trial and error. But again, that might be pretty realistic if you just decide to go and try to be a farmer. It looks pretty. There's so many things that you can do. The integration of seasons makes it really interesting. It's more of a strategy game. You said more of a management game, but I would say more of a strategy game compared to previous iterations of Farming Simulator that were more about kind of driving these big trucks. This felt like a strategy game, but for me, there's this, this gameplay loop of you grow crops, you get money, you plant more crops, you get more money, and think. I'm usually pretty vulnerable to those gameplay loops and I get pulled into them. This one, I didn't, because I wasn't quite sure what the end goal was. There's no story at all. Maybe if there was a campaign about poor farmer trying to save his family farm or something, I don't know what would have pulled me in. But it honestly just felt a lot like work. That you should do this work to get money so that you can feed the people who are working for you, so you can do more work and get more money. And I play games to get away from work, and maybe this simulator was so realistic that it just kind of felt like work. It's very well made. If you want to be a farmer, if you like this type of game, you're going to like it. You should definitely claim it. Anyone else who plays games to escape from real life, it's too realistic for me, so I'm gonna have to say no on this one.
I understand. This game is definitely not for everyone, and as you said, maybe it's too complex for some of you guys. So if you still like cutting your grass, but make it more simple, how about playing Lawn Mowing Simulator? It was also free from Epic, so you might already have it in your library. And watch that review next. Caleb didn't like it, but he didn't like this game as well. So.
Spoiler alert.
But I mean, simulation is a little bit different than the usual game, so you need to simulation games.
It's still a fun review, so watch that, and we'll see you next time.
See you. Bye.